some people are a little bit rude, but I've read the book and I've read as much information as I can find about you on the internet. So I'm going to
Okay.
try and ask them in a way that's not rude, but like I'm gonna ask how you respond to common criticisms, maybe.
I am from Cincinnati, Ohio. I've been here basically my whole life. However, I've traveled a lot. Obviously, in an intellectual sense, in an emotional sense, as well as a geographical sense. So I'm glad to be doing that. And now we're all forced to travel technologically. So, that's happening as well, too. And I'm similar probably to you and a lot of others in your community. I'm interested in identity. I'm interested in things of social significance, whatever that may be, especially as we're still in the aftermath of a pandemic, as we are balancing hustle culture with dreams, ambitions, careers, things along those lines. So I could say more, but that's basically a little bit about me.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Actually, yeah. Let's start with like I guess your educational background. What is your doctorate in? And then what institution did you go to? You said that you're there in Cincinnati. You went
Mm-hmm.
to the University of Cincinnati, if I remember correctly, or am I misremembering?
I went to a lot of schools, so that's a part of the exploration I was just talking about. So I have gone to UC, University of Cincinnati, Xavier University, Miami University, Northern Kentucky University. That's all in the region. I've also did some brief studies at the University of Southern California, and there was an international summer schools program over in England, and I was at the University of Cambridge to do some studies there. So the studies have gone all over. And my doctorate is in educational leadership. So all of the elements core that pertain to leadership, specialized in that. And my focus was on, DEI, diversity leadership inside of educational systems, particularly in higher ed. And that's where, in part, the identity such as transgracial, the intersection of transgender and transracial identity, that was all born at the time that I was working on the doctorate and growing from that point. So that's kind of the boring academic side of things.
Okay. So from there, I have two. One is actually a question by somebody in the community, and I'm just going to ask it bluntly because that's what you said. They said, "Are you aware that you're marking yourself as someone to avoid within activists and DEI spaces?" And now you just said that this all kind of arose when you were in DEI spaces and like working on your doctorate. So I guess how would you respond to a question like that?
In some ways, they're right. And people that ultimately either would have avoided me, either just by virtue of learning some of the things that I want to work on, that would have happened regardless. But I feel like now that I have lowered the shield and I'm a bit more unvarnished in some of the things that I want to champion. And so those very folks that would have avoided me are now effectively just jumping ahead of the line, and they're just doing it. So it's quite efficient actually to lean into that, because on the flip side of that coin, those that are attracted to this particular kind of intersectionality and other sorts that may be adjacent to this, or just things that we haven't even thought about, they're, starting to come and find me, and I find them, and it's like finding your audience, and then you're able to collaborate in that way. So in some ways, I'd say, sure, they've fallen right into the trap and just expedited it. So that's my response.
Well, that is the goal, I suppose. You mention in your book and also in the paper you wrote in 2015, other people with transracial identities, like Rachel Dolezal. I might have mispronounced the last name. I guess, what has your experience been after putting your message out to the world? You said a lot of people are finding you. Have you found a lot of other people who relate to your transgracial identity experience? Is it just like a transracial identity that they relate to?